everybody. It's Saturday night. The wind seems to have calmed down. Liverpool have won 4-0. So it seems like it's a good news type of day. So, first of all, let me introduce the panel tonight. As always, Steve's with me. How are we today, Steve?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm on the red wall today. You might have noticed the red wall for the Reds. Yeah, look forward to looking at the stars through the hole in the roof tonight. No, it's not quite that bad, mate, but yeah, that was a bit fierce. But mate, the game was great. So all is well. All is well at the moment.
Hello, Dan. How are you today, mate?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, managed to avoid much of the damage from last night. And obviously the Reds did some damage at Anfield today. And I don't want to say it, but they cooked up a storm. I'll get that out there early.
Hey. And Dean, welcome to the panel again. How are you today, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just really enjoyed watching the match, and now I'm just spending my time watching this weird documentary about a family in which their parents, the parents of 15 kids, ended up kind of kidnapping them. It's a weird documentary about a family. I don't know if you've heard of the Turpin family. Anyway, that's how I'm entertaining myself for the evening.
Sounds beautiful. So, Steve, we'll come to you first. So, was there any surprises with the starting 11 before we go into the match?
No, I think he'd suggested Robbo was going to play in his press conference, saying Robbo is Robbo. So yeah. No, not really. I thought Ox might play, but he went with Thiago for sort of a bit more defensive stability, if you like, and it just worked, didn't it? I mean, we've only seen them three playing centre midfield together 3 times in all the time they've been at the club, which is a bit mad, really. But for one reason or another, but there were no surprises. I think Robbo was always going to come back. He looked good when he came on midweek in Europe. He looked like he got a bit of zip back, and obviously he's assisted again today. So you'd really have to say that it was the right choice to bring him back.
Dan, Steve just touched on Robbo there. Did Robbo look like a guy who'd played football continuously for 3 years and had actually had a decent physical and mental break from the game?
Yeah, and he looked like that on Wednesday. You know, Steve alluded to the Porto game. I thought he looked like a man possessed when he came on Wednesday. He looked like a man with a point to prove, which is what we want, isn't it? Though we've cried out for a long time for sort of competition for places. And some players probably need that and some don't. You know, Jurgen Klopp's the perfect man to assess who needs that bit of competition, who needs that kick up the arse. And other players might suffer from it, you know what I mean? So Robertson looked like he needed to kick up the arse and he looks like he's had it. So now we've got 2 seriously top-class left-backs competing, and I think that's a great place to be in. And Robertson Wednesday looked outstanding, and again today, back to his best, and that's perfect for us.
Perfect, nice response. And Dan, how did you think Canate did today? In place of
You're going back to me, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Dean. Sorry, Dean.
Yeah.
Dean.
Yeah, I thought that Canate did well. I thought he took a little bit of time to kind of get up to speed with the conditions. But I thought that generally he performed really well. The thing about Canate is he's a natural athlete, and he's actually probably, he's actually probably even more freakishly athletic than Van Dijk is, even if you consider his height. And he's probably slightly faster than Van Dijk, and it's just a great athlete. He's a great specimen to just kind of have in the back. And I thought that generally he kind of coped with all of the tasks that were in front of him well. And it's just good to have someone who is still learning. He's still at a kind of impressionable age. But he has so much kind of athletic ability, and most importantly, he is smart. He makes really good decisions for somebody who's only 22 years old. So, when you have somebody who is, 6'4" and super strong, so he can cope with those big lumbering strikers, but he's also agile enough to kind of cope with the faster niftier strikers like Armstrong, that's a great thing, and I feel that he kind of showed those characteristics today.
All right, so go on to looking at today's game, Steve. So, apart from the first 30 seconds where they got attacking, how impressed were you with the way you started, Steve?
I've been saying for weeks now, Liverpool need to start with a high intensity, need to start with a quick tempo, need to take the games away from teams in sort of the first 20 minutes. Apart from the save Alisson made and the fact that we scored after two minutes or whatever it wasn't much more than that, was it? I thought for the first 15, 20 minutes they could get at us. I thought we were a little bit defensively out of shape. I think Dean just touched on it there. That it took Konate a little while to adjust to the game. He got caught positionally once or twice, just sort of drifted out of the position, and he'll learn sitting next to Van Dijk about how to deal with that. But from the moment the goal goes in 2 minutes, you're looking at that Southampton side and you're thinking they haven't got it in them to get back in this game, and there's certainly more goals here for Liverpool. So the game went as I expected it to go, and as you've seen with Doug who's watching or was watching, I predicted 4-0 last night on his channel. Just sort of feeling Southampton are not great. They're very, very inconsistent, and they don't really have a goal threat as a genuine number 9. So yeah, I think we needed to start where we did, but I think we still gave them too many opportunities against a better quality side. We're not going to be able to go to sleep at times in the first 20 minutes like we slept on it a bit for me. But once the goal goes in, once Jota gets his goal, mate, there's only one conclusion to that game, and obviously, well, we know what happened, and we got the result.
Yeah, nice one, Steve. So, Dad, we alluded to it a little bit off air before we went live. At times today, like Steve just went, we were a little bit sloppy. We gave the ball away, messed around the back a little bit. And playing a better team, we may have been punished for that today. Is that a concern for you, or do you just think it's just the way we play?
It shouldn't be just the way we play if that's what it is, because we have been punished for it this season. You look at Brentford away, West Ham away in particular, even Brighton at home to a certain extent. We have been punished for not being at our best, so we can't afford to let our standards slip in any game. Just so happens today, I agree with Steve, and I also predicted 4-0 this morning. I thought the early goal was key because in games like that, you can kill a side's confidence. Like Southampton want to come, they want to make it difficult for 15, 20 minutes. And when they don't do that, all of a sudden, their whole game plan shot to pieces. So, listen, when you can't really criticise a 4-0 victory, but I thought our unbeaten start of the season was a little bit of a mask, if that makes sense. I thought we were kind of living on a wing and a prayer at times, and I thought we were getting away with it a little bit because our performances weren't exactly sort of swashbuckling and all conquering like they had been previously under Klopp. So yeah, we should be concerned with giving away chances, and we should bear in mind, and Klopp will know that, we should bear in mind that better teams will punish us, but at the same time, live and learn. And I don't think we've conceded since that West Ham game. So there's definitely something's been said or something's been changed, and there definitely seems to be more steel to us, which can only be good going into what is now the crucial part of the season, in my opinion, over the next 4-6 weeks.
If I could just add to that, so I think that I can understand how people can see that and see that we gave away chances today and see it as maybe a sign of some kind of bigger problem. I didn't kind of see it that way. I thought it was, and this is never good anyway. But I did think it was a kind of a level of complacency. Yeah. You can tell by the players who were doing it. For example, Thiago tried something.
He does that a lot. Thiago, though.
Yeah. Sometimes you just kind of get a bit complacent because it started off. We had started off really well. Southampton were in this kind of position where they weren't really pressing us and they were giving us time on the ball. And yeah, we just got a little bit complacent. But I think that the reason that we got complacent is because we weren't really at full tilt. We were just kind of building up. We always knew that we had an extra gear that we could go up. And I think Hassan Hüttl kind of said the same thing in the post-match where he said, he felt like it was a case of if they did even score from those chances that they created, it was just a matter of Liverpool going up a level. And I think that was in their brains when things like that were happening. So basically, just to kind of sum up what I'm trying to say, I don't think that Liverpool will make those type of errors that we made in this game specifically in a game where we're in less control, basically, where we're kind of going full tilt, and we feel like, if we get one chance, we got to score it, or if we give away one chance, then we're going to lose the match. I thought that Liverpool were always in control, felt like they were always in control, and just because they felt like they were always in control, a little bit of complacency seeped in.
Can I just play devil's advocate on that one? Because you do make an interesting point, but my concern would be, if you go into a game with the wrong mindset, and if what you've just said was the case, that it, to some degree, is the wrong mindset. If Southampton nick one through hook or by crook, it's really, really hard to get yourself out of that mindset. I remember Alan Hansen saying, going into the FA Cup final against Wimbledon, he knew in the tunnel that Liverpool wouldn't win because of the mentality of the players. So if you can see that, and I did think that a little bit today, but you kind of hope that isn't the case, and you kind of hope that Klopp's got enough about him to stop that. That's a dangerous game to be playing, and does it show a slight lack of respect for your opposition? You shouldn't disrespect or take anybody lightly, because a set piece you can concede from. Alisson pulls off a good save. He pulled off a couple of good saves today. Only takes one of those to go in, and Southampton grow immeasurably in terms of their confidence. They start to defend spaces better because they're actually in the game, if that makes sense. So if you're right, Dean, and I'm not pulling you up on it or saying you're wrong, if you are right, then that's a bigger concern than a lack of form for me.
That's a really good point. That it maybe not necessarily kind of takes a hit on Liverpool's confidence if Southampton go and score, but also Southampton kind of build their confidence. But I just don't see that. I just don't see that quite with the Southampton. I think that the golf is a bit too much, and I think that the telling thing, sorry to repeat myself, but I think that the telling thing is that Hassan Hutel, in everything he's kind of said leading up to this game and prior and after this game, has suggested that he even thinks that the golf is too much. I think that there are some teams, if you're in this situation and you give away a goal like that, say for example a Burnley, that's really going to kind of instill confidence into them and they can go on. But I just think that just in every respect, whether it be personnel, whether it be their kind of the way that they're set up formationally, I just don't think that Southampton are equipped to cope with Liverpool if they do decide to go up a level, even if they kind of decided to kind of try to camp in with every man behind the back. I just don't think that Southampton specifically have it in them. But I agree that against a lot of teams, if you do that, then it's a problem. But yeah, that's why I was kind of very specific in talking about this game.
Let me just ask the host then, because Ian does a lot of question asking and doesn't really get to speak too much himself. What Dean and I have just been discussing, really amicably, no drama. Did we see a little bit of that West Ham? Did we see a little bit of complacency against West Ham? Is there an argument to say some of the things we've spoken about today were on show a little bit at West Ham? Because I'm interested to know what you think, so I have my opinion.
I think personally, Liverpool do have it in them to be complacent, and I think that's where we tend to drop points. We tend to drop points sometimes where we think we've won the game before we've got on the pitch, and I think that was a problem against West Ham. That's what I thought. I thought, because it was a big away game, I thought Liverpool tend to get the points in them games. I thought Liverpool thought they'd won it. And I think that's what happened last season when we went on that mad run where we didn't win at home. If you look at the teams we lost against, apart from City, they were all poor teams. And I think it was down to the fact that we thought we'd won them games before we even got on the pitch. And I said that quite a few times last season. I'm hoping that's something that leaves our makeup, that something clock can change, because you don't win big trophies if that's in your mentality, because you need to be switched on like every game is a cup final for the league games of the season.
Yeah, sorry to cut in there. I think, I completely agree 100%. I think that is something that this Liverpool team have kind of combated with for a long time because they're so good and they're talked up, you know, and these are some of the best players in the world. And sometimes they just believe their hype. So they just kind of immediately go out into games thinking that they've already won it. And I put it this way. I don't think you beat this Liverpool team without a little bit of that being in their head during a match. And once you kind of get that into your head and you start off really slowly and you start off kind of really kind of lackadaisically, but the other team is playing at a really high level, it then becomes very difficult to kind of take your level up to match them. So Liverpool with the right mentality. If Liverpool go into every single game with the right mentality, and you know the Liverpool mentality is kind of high intensity and high tempo. If they go into every single game in this season like that, they'll probably win pretty much 99% of them. That's the thing about this Liverpool team. But if they, you know, once that kind of complacency sets in, where they're going into matches and they're playing slowly and they're treating it as if, you know, oh, you know, it's fine, we've got loads of time, lack of urgency, that's when the problems start to happen.
Steve, just staying on that a minute. Well, ask you the question here. Is I think, without naming them, there's about 3 or 4 players in that team who at times can look a little bit too cocky, let's say, can be a little bit not on the ball when they need to be, when they're up against the smaller teams. What can Klopp do to combat that? Because the players I'm talking about, they've been doing it now for 12 to 18 months, and it seems mad talking about this. We've just beat the team 4-0 in the league. But I just think there was that linger there for the first 20 minutes.
The short answer is nothing, because that's in the DNA of those footballers, and that makes them the special players that some of them are. And we could all sit here and name the names and think all 4 of us would guess all the same names at the same time, but you don't change fundamentally what a footballer is. You learn to work with it. So this is why I've said many, many times when, and I'm repeating myself a bit, so apologies, guys, but when they sit down with Trent Alexander at the start of the season, they don't speak to him about what he needs to improve on defensively. They go and tell him to challenge Kevin De Bruyne in terms of being creative. So you learn to live with the shortcomings, for the want of a better phrase, that footballers have. And we know that Trent sometimes gets caught positionally. We know that there are better defensive right backs in the league than them, but there are no better creative right backs in world football, never mind the Premier League. So that's a classic example of living with the flaws, understanding that, you know, Thiago doesn't like playing on the stretch. So when there's a quick transition against us, you can, unless he's making the first tackle and invariably picking up a yellow card, he's not going to give you what Ronaldo did. So there are differences to the team at the moment. But I just think you have to live with those little demons in those players' heads. And if you look at all the best footballers ever over the history of football, they've all got little things in them that you don't like, little things in them you'd like to change. But then you say to yourself, hang on a minute, if I change that, I'll change that player completely. So I think Klopp is happy to live with it. This is the heavy metal football thing he speaks about. It's a clever way of masquerading and covering up the fact that we take risks at times.
No, spot on answer, Steve. So, Dan, coming to you, I've had a little grin on my face for the past 2 or 3 games, because as I've spoken of plenty of times on this podcast, one of my concerns has been our midfield and our numbers, and we didn't place Gini Wijnaldum.
Yeah.
The last couple of games, I think Ox has shown a bit of form, and definitely Thiago the last couple of games. My question to you is, can either of them, if not both of them, take that form through the rest of the season? Or are you concerned that both of them will just implode at some point and could go missing with injury?
I mean, that's always a concern, certainly with Oxlade-Chamberlain, because unfortunately, his track record since he's been at Liverpool has been littered with injuries. And it is unfortunate because we've seen it, you know, when he's on top form, he's a serious asset to this squad. You can pinpoint individual moments and games. You know, the run in the Champions League up until his serious injury, the Atletico Madrid game at Anfield, when he came back, I thought he was outstanding. Then he gets injured again. And his recent form's been really good. But unfortunately, like I say, good form often does get followed by an injury quite soon after. But if fit, he could be a massive asset moving forward this season. Not necessarily in terms of a starter, because he's not in our best midfield 3. I think we've seen our best midfield 3 today, to be honest with you. I think that's got the perfect blend of everything. And that's quite harsh on Naby Keita in many ways, because I think I got a lot of time for Naby Keita. I thought he was brilliant to start the season. But what we've seen today, for me, has just got that little sprinkle of everything. I think it's perfect. As for Thiago, we are talking about a seriously world-class footballer. Like, that man has been there, done it, and worn every single T-shirt. In terms of team accolades, he's been involved in some of the best teams over the past decade. And he's also won individual accolades and been talked about and lauded, continent over. So he's a proper, seriously good footballer. And we're very lucky to have him. But we're only very lucky to have him if he's fit. And when he's fit, he could be a difference maker in this Liverpool side, because he's progressive. He sees things that our other midfielders can't see. Gino Wijnaldum was brilliant. He was industrious. He popped up with big goals, certainly in Champions League, and he was never out of position, and he worked so hard for us. He can't produce what Thiago can produce for a football. It's just a different, different league altogether. So both of them could be key to this Liverpool side, as long as they stay fit. And that's a huge caveat, unfortunately, at the moment, because neither of them, since they've both been at the club together, have been able to do so.
Right, let's get to a little bit more positivity now, Dean. We're going to move a little bit further up the pitch. Now, this is my opinion. I want to ask yours. In my opinion, I thought Jota today had one of his best games in a Liverpool shirt. How do you think Diogo Jota performed today, Dean?
I thought he was really good today. I thought the thing that you're kind of starting to notice is that he's starting to become that kind of Bobby style linchpin. He's starting to kind of drop deeper and become more of a part of the play. The only difference is that he is exceptional. He's exceptional at kind of finding space in the box. So he's able to kind of drop deep and to go, to find himself in the 6-yard box, stealing Salah's goals. So he had a very effective game today, and he's getting those kind of 6-yard goals. He is linking up play so well, especially with Mane. So he's becoming a great kind of all-round player, and I think I heard today that his kind of goals to games ratio is kind of up there with Salah's. And if you consider that we've only had him for a short time and he's still only 24, I think 25, so he has a long career ahead of him hopefully with us. If he continues to perform at that level, who's to say he doesn't eclipse even the likes of Mane and Firmino? And that sounds crazy to say, but that's the kind of performances he's putting in right now. And long may it continue.
Yeah. Same question to you, Steve. How did you think Diogo Jota performed today?
Yeah, he's very effective today, and it is this predatory instinct that he's got that Bobby hasn't, and commentators keep saying it. It's a very obvious thing, but it's very true. He scored a hat-trick doing exactly the same thing. When you've got fullbacks and you're asking them to put the ball into an area rather than into a person, and you're asking your forwards to attack that area, Jota looks like he's the guy who wants to get on the end of them, whether they're coming in from the left and the right. So centrally, he's a definite goal threat. He's improving his game in terms of receiving the ball back to goal. But I do think there's still a way to go for him in terms of his improvement. And that's difficult to do when you've come in off a flank and you're playing through the centre, and you've got to have sort of 360 vision because there's lots of different things going on around you, and the touchlines are not your friend when you're playing in the middle. But that's not a criticism of him. That's something he's improving, and that's only a good thing for the football club. So I think we've got the top 3 goal scorers in the Premier League at the moment, 11, 7 and 7. Yeah. So listen, if that carries on for the remainder of the season, we're talking like this in another 12 games, another 13 games, we will be in the title running, which I firmly believe we will be anyway. But we're scoring goals. We scored 4 goals today, and Salah didn't get one. And when's the last time you said that? So that speaks of a greater responsibility in the team for people to score goals. Other people to score goals. Oxlade-Chamberlain could have had one. Anywhere other than straight at the keeper, he caught that ball so well. That's going in that. So Jota's a great addition to the squad, mate. And it's, you know, it'll be horses for courses in certain games. He will play in other games. Like, you don't need to play Bobby against Southampton, but you do need to play Bobby against Manchester City, if that makes sense, because of the differences of what they do without the ball in particular. So it's a nice problem to have. And he's got a few goals to his name. He's looking fit, looking confident, and long may it continue. Same as what Dean said, long may it continue.
Dan, Steve's just mentioned the both of them there, Robertson and Trent. Do you think a better Robertson brings a better Trent Alexander-Arnold? Do you think that little competition they have going together and brings them both up to a higher level?
I think that probably has been the case in previous seasons, because you mentioned the word competition there, and that has been, it's been evident to see they've probably openly discussed it on that wingman show they do, and even after games, there's always this tweet having a sly dig when one of them goes ahead of the other in terms of the assist. So that probably did exist, and Trent probably did push himself to be better than Robertson in terms of assists and creativity and what have you. But now, I'm going to say no. I think Trent's matured a hell of a lot more than we think over the past 6, 7, 8 months, or whatever it may be. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold now, if he wasn't already, has got the ability within himself just to be the best that he possibly can be, regardless of what's going on the other side. I think we've seen that already this season, because Robertson, if we're going to be honest, I don't want to dig him out too much, hasn't been of a level. I think he has been the past 2 games, but he's been nowhere near his best this season. And the numbers probably reflect that. Like, Trent's far and away ahead of him. So now I think Trent Alexander-Arnold's taken it upon himself to just kick on and just provide from the right, regardless of what's happening on the other side. And it doesn't matter what other people are doing anymore to him, because he's gone from sort of young prodigy to world-class operator in everyone's eyes, and certainly Liverpool fans' eyes. So whilst I think the competition was a big factor in how he performed, now I just think he just wants to be the best in the world regardless. And I actually also think the development of this side, certainly earlier in the season when it was Trent, Elliott and Salah as a triangle on the right, I think he was such an integral part of that. He's almost developed a whole new role, and he's popped up in the middle a lot more than he used to, and he's starting playoff forwards. He used to be this creative force in terms of the final ball, but now he's starting most moves. He's just phenomenal. But yeah, like I say, I don't think the competition with Robertson is what it was, because I just think now they're both top class players in their own right.
Excellent. So, Dean, Dan has just mentioned our midfield here. So, if all our midfielders are fit, Elliott, Jones, Thiago, Henderson, Fabinho, the lot, who's your first choice midfield?
So do you mean like if everyone is kind of fitting in form?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we saw it today. I think that the midfield that played today has the kind of mixture of everything, really. It has a mixture of kind of defensive stability, positional awareness, intelligence on the ball, technical ability, experience as well. There really is. If you have all of them, and I think somebody said this on Twitter, and if I remember, this person is always quite critical of us. They said that if you have all of them playing really, really well, then Liverpool arguably have the best midfield in the league. If you could get those 3 performing at their highest level, performing at 100%, there probably isn't a midfield that matches that in the league. So I think the one that was there today, played today, and performed reasonably well today is probably our best midfield. But it just kind of depends on the way what Jurgen Klopp wants. Does he still want to kind of go with that kind of industrious midfield, that one that is kind of, that's working really hard and a sort of pressing machine, a non-stop pressing machine, and kind of wins the ball back and then just supplies it to the front three? Or do you want something that's a little bit more kind of technically gifted, something that works better at linking the back to the back to front, basically? And I think that's what this midfield gives you more. So yeah, I think today's midfield is probably our best. Probably if on form is probably our best midfield, and that's the one that I would personally like to see kind of going forward.
Steve, similar question to you, but further back. So Konate came in today. So was that a case of horses for courses, or was that a case of resting Matip for the derby on Wednesday night? What do you think is Klopp's idea now with the centre backs? And what does the future hold for Joe Gomez?
So a few questions there. The first one would be, I think he's managing Matip's availability and his fitness over seeing Konate as a replacement for him now, because he's not ready to replace him now. He'll need more games like this. He'll need more games like the Man United game, which was an absolute stroll for him, where he gains confidence. And he'll need the odd game where he'll probably play against Leicester in the Carabao. I think that's a certainty. The two top centre backs are Matip and Van Dijk together, and I think we've seen that now over the last, well, certainly since Van Dijk joined the club, it's become apparent. Joe Gomez came into the fore and then picked up a couple of injuries, and obviously the really serious one. Bit worried about Joe Gomez because I've said it before. Van Dijk doesn't really look like he's been away in terms of a long-term injury. I did notice today there's a couple of times when he might have thrown himself at something he didn't, and he used his recovery speed to get to the ball rather than committing to a tackle. So he's obviously still thinking about the injury. And often is the case with these injuries, it's the psychological side of it rather than the physical side of it. If his leg wasn't up to it, he wouldn't be playing. So he's just got to start to deal with the things in his mind that say, actually, that's as good as it was. I can go and commit myself to that. In terms of Joe Gomez, I'm not really sure what the future holds for Joe Gomez. Right now, Joe Gomez's competition is Nat Phillips. That's the reality of it. In terms of if there was a spot available, who's going to get it, which one? Gomez hasn't come back into the side with any form at all, really. When he has played, he hasn't looked particularly good. He's got the pace, but we haven't seen him stretch to see if he's still got the pace following the knee injury. Doesn't have the same swagger and the same confidence as Van Dijk, but then perhaps that's a bit unfair because nobody does. That's a unique specimen of a man. Come back from almost a year out and look like you've never been out the side is an incredible thing to do. So that speaks more of Van Dijk than it does of Gomez. I think Gomez could be someone who gets unhappy with his role in the club. And I think next summer could be a pivotal time for Joe Gomez. And as much as I like him, if we all think about it, while we're on the subject of Joe Gomez, he's had 3 or 4 really quite serious injuries while he's been a Liverpool player. You can't have that year in, year out. And unfortunately, the patella knee ligament thing is you don't see that coming. It's not brought about by impact. It's just brought about by degeneration and wear and tear. Has he got a long-term future at the club? I think the club would like to think so. I think Joe Gomez might be the one that makes that decision because right now he's 4th in line. And in current form, as I said at the start of this little segue here, I'm not sure he gets in above Nat Phillips. I think you can make a case to have Nat Phillips attacking the ball and Konate playing off him if you really needed to go that deep into our back four. So interesting times ahead for Joe Gomez. I hope he rolls his sleeves up and gets some form back because there was a time he was the best English centre-back. It was the right option to play in the England back four. But that was 18 months ago, and 18 months is a long time in football. So he's got a bit of work to do to get back to that level. And I hope he does, because as I say, I do like him. But players of that ability who want to play for England won't do that sitting on the bench. And that might be where he arrives in his own mind in terms of his future.
So I'm going to stay with you, because in a minute, we're going to have a look forward at the match on Wednesday. We've got the small matter of a local derby today. But first of all, who was your man of the match today, Steve?
It's hard to pick one because everybody was sort of really efficient, weren't they? Alisson did what he needed to do and he needed to do it. Robbo looked a bit more like his old self. He was bombing on. Fabinho did what Fabinho does. Thiago was good. Jota 2 goals. Do you know what? There's been a lot written about whether this guy should have played today. There's been a lot written about his understudy. I don't think you can look too much further than Andy Robbo, because what he's done, instead of chucking his toys out the pram, he's rolled his sleeves up and said to Klopp, "You show me faith, I'll show you performances." And he's done that in the last couple of games. And if you go on Twitter, there's lots of people calling for Tsimikas to be the automatic choice at left back and for Robbo to try and win the shirt back. That's never going to happen. Not under Klopp. Never going to happen. There's too much water under the bridge. There's too many good performances. There's too much ability in Andy Robertson. He was burnt out, mate. Simple as that. He needed some time out. So the injury he got, and then the little bit of a rest he's had sitting on the bench has done him the world of good. So in terms of dealing with pressure and coming back and showing us what he's about, because there were so many good players on the pitch, I'll give it to Andy Robbo for having the right mentality.
Same question to you, Dan. Who was your man of the match for today?
Yeah, I was going to go with Robertson. Diogo Jota would be my second choice, just because, just to touch on what we were talking about earlier with him, he's just so impactful, isn't he? Like Firmino, we all love Roberto Firmino, what he brings to the side, but Jota's a completely different type of forward. He just impacts games every time he plays, whether he off the bench starts, he has a say, and that's so important from a striker to do that, and he's done it today, and he's took the game away from Southampton by himself, essentially. But yeah, I'll go Robertson as a widest pick, because I was one of those, not necessarily being critical of Andy Robertson, but suggesting that Tsimikas should have started today, because I think form has dictated that Tsimikas should have started today, and I'm happy to be proved wrong. I absolutely love Andy Robertson to pieces, and I agree everything with Steve said in terms of water under the bridge, and you know, Klopp's loyalty has almost led him to saying the things he said this week and sticking by him, and rightly so. There's no getting away from that. But there was a few weeks whereby I have had my concerns that we were just picking Robertson based on what's gone before, and he wasn't the best left back on form in the club at that time. I think West Ham was a standout case, and him playing wasn't the reason we lost that game. But prior to that game, in my opinion, Tsimikas was the better left back. So, and I'll never change that opinion. So, yeah, it's a really difficult debate. And I think the fact that there is competition there, I think that's really good. And it's obviously brought the best out of Robertson today. Because just to finish on it, I think Robertson was literally back to his best. And he was influential going forwards. He was solid defensively, where I think he hasn't been previously this season. Yeah, just wanted to get involved, wanted to prove a point. And when we've got an Andy Robertson with a bit between his teeth, like he had today and on Wednesday, we've got the best left back in the world. So it's all good.
And same question to you, Dean. Who do you think was today's man of the match?
So yeah, it's a very kind of difficult one. It's a difficult one to pick because there were so many people who kind of performed to their level. I mean, Salah, you know, even though he didn't score, he did everything but score. You know, he was creating chances, he was occupying defenders. You know, for Salah, it's probably a mediocre game, but for most strikers around the world, it's a top quality game. You have Alisson, who's pulling off all kinds of brilliant saves, not in the kind of aesthetic nature in terms of the way that they actually look, but he is so brilliant positionally that he's making the best in the world. So my thinking in terms of positionally is I think he's the best in the Premier League, but I'd argue that he's probably amongst the best that's ever played in the Premier League in terms of just his positional sense of where you need to be in order to kind of pull off a save. And because of that, because he's always in the right position, he's making saves that should typically be spectacular look routine. And he did that again today. He faced, I think, 3 one-on-ones or something along those lines. And at no point did you feel like he was going to concede. Beyond that, the midfield were really good. Again, Henderson kind of playing like advanced midfield position, kind of pushing up on the right. He was brilliant again. Thiago doing the same on the left. They both had a good game. But yeah, it's a clean sweep for me, to be honest, because I thought that Robbo, like Dan said at the beginning of the program, I thought that he played like he had a point to prove. And I think that what kind of highlighted that is if you see his celebration for his assist, where he was like really, really fired up. He was really kind of, he kind of, threw his fist down as if he was kind of, just kind of, it looked like somebody who had kind of read all of the criticism that was coming his way, or heard all of the criticism that's coming his way, and wanted to kind of make a statement. And that was also backed up by the fact that Henderson, as soon as that kind of goes in, Henderson is pointing towards Robertson and runs straight to him. So it's obviously something that's been playing on his mind, with people kind of reevaluating the way that they look at Robertson. But he was exceptional today. He had that kind of fiery energy that he always plays with. He was really, really good on the ball. Did a number of key passes, very good defensively, and just kind of back to his best. And I've kind of had debates with people about Tsimikas, and I love Tsimikas, and I love his trajectory. He's doing really, really well. But like Dan said, Robertson playing at the best of his ability is undoubtedly the best left back in the world, and there's not a debate to be had for me.
Perfect. So, Steve, looking forward to Wednesday. So, first of all, I'm going to ask you all the same the same question, and I'm going to go back and ask you all a different question, but the same one again. So, the first question is, Steve, what team would you line up with on Wednesday?
Same as today, without a doubt. Same as today. No, I'll bring Matic back, sorry.
Yeah, that's
my apologies, yeah. I'll bring Matic back. And I wonder why, Dan, you screwed your face up. No, why. Yeah, I'd bring Matic back and I'd leave the midfield as it is now. Watching Henderson today, and for Jota's second goal, Ox doesn't do what Henderson did with Salah because that understanding isn't there. That little slide rule ball into Salah, who squared it for Jota, has come through muscle memory and training and playing with that guy time and time again. And and it helps Trent to have him inside as well. So I would definitely go with the team with today, but I'd put Matip in instead of Canate purely because that's our number one centre-back partnership, and I believe Matip didn't need to play today, so he didn't. But leave it as it is. Apart from everything else, that midfield three will be too strong for Everton.
So you're going with the same then, are you, Dan?
I am, but I would like to say Jurgen Klopp has a tendency to name someone bizarre in the derby. So, yes, I would pick the same team.
No Origi.
Do I think Divock Origi will start on Wednesday? Yeah, probably. No, but on a serious note, like he has done that in the past. Like I remember looking at the side of thinking, like with all due respect, like Adam Lallana's playing. Xherdan Shaqiri, that one at Anfield, we beat him 5-2, was it? Shaqiri starts out of nowhere. You know what I mean? So, listen, he's got a tendency to do mad things in these derbies, but I would name the same team as Steve just said, yeah.
And Dean, what team would you go with?
So I would probably start Adrian in goal. No, I'm joking. No.
No.
It's gonna sound boring, but yeah, it just makes sense to kind of go with that team because, like I say, that midfield is our best. The front three is our best, and the back four with Matip in there is our best as well. So it's just just about kind of going with our best team. But I do kind of agree with what Dan said, and I do expect that there will be more than one change. I do expect Matip to come back in, but I suspect that Klopp is going to just change up the front three possibly a little bit, but. I think everyone that plays is capable of beating this Everton team, especially in the form that they're in. But if I were picking the team, I would just kind of stick with the tried and trusted 11 that started today plus Matip.
Can I just pick you up on something, Dean? There, you said that front three today was our best front three. I know Firmino's currently injured, but do you believe that's our best front three? Full stop.
No. It's our best front three that's available.
Available.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, that's available.
Yeah.
No.
For me, debate, isn't it? Yeah.
No. I'm very much someone that believes that Firmino is a top quality player, and Jota is still nowhere near. You can't just say that Jota is
They're just different as well,
at
aren't they?
that
That's the
level.
thing.
Very
Okay.
different players. They add so many different things to the team, but I still think that the team plays better and is a better team with Firmino. But obviously, based on availability,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Jota is the best.
I'll tell you what, Ian, they're bloody fickle, these Liverpool fans, aren't they? You can't say anything, can you?
Well, I just wanted to be sure, because for me,
No,
like Dean, just Firmino still is in our best front three, and I know there were
100%.
Liverpool fans. Dave, who I have a podcast with, as you know, he would have Jota over Firmino, for instance. You know what I mean? So
I'm with you, mate.
is,
I'm with you.
there is a debate coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, not a chance for me. Not a chance for me.
So, the second question for you all, and I'm going to Steve first. You know what it is, Steve? What's the score going to be on Wednesday, and who are going to be the scorers?
We're going to absolutely batter them, mate. They've got no spine, they've got no Calvert-Lewin, they've got no Decore. He's training, but it's not match fit. Yerry Mina's probably not going to play. They've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex in goal. There's really not anything that we shouldn't be too positive about. I think we're going to go and do what we did at Old Trafford, mate. I'm nicking Jack Mack's comments last night from Doug's show. I think we could score 4 or 5 down. They are dreadful, mate, and the only way they're going to stop us playing is to go strong arm, and Rafa Benitez doesn't have strong arm tactics in his locker, mate. So he's probably going to come out with some mad formation where Richarlison plays like central defence or something, because that's like Rafa has these massive brain farts, doesn't he? He used to do it when he was our manager. I think we'll absolutely wallop them, mate. I think they're in a really bad place at the moment, and we're free scoring. So with chest, boys, 4-0 is what I'm going for on Wednesday night, mate.
We're going to score them, Steve.
Who's going to score them? 1 for Mane, 1 for Salah, 2 for Salah, and 1 for Jota.
That's you, Dan. Are we going to emphatically? Do you think we're going to do the job as emphatically as Steve does?
I'd love to sit here and say yeah, but this game, similar to United games we spoke about previously, I just can't say the things Steve's saying. I can't bring myself to do it. I'd love to be able to, but we all know why I can't. It's a derby, it's Everton. I just have horrible, horrible feelings about these games. I feel sick from now until Wednesday. It's horrible. Listen, in terms of everything Steve said, in terms of quality, so for instance, Everton are a similar side to Southampton in many ways in terms of the levels they're at, probably. And I sat there this morning quite happily and said, we'll beat these 4-0 today. So in theory, I should be able to do the same thing, but I can't because it's Everton. So what I will say is, I'll say we'll beat them 2-0. And it will be a case of our sort of superiority shining through eventually. But with all the usual derby horrorness and terribleness, and I just dread it. And it's Benitez's first one as Everton manager as well. It's just, it's a horrible game. At their place, it's a bad game. But yeah, I'll go 2-0. And to make up for not scoring today, I'll go Mane and Salah.
And Dean, what do you think the score will be? What do you think, and who do you think will score?
So I I'm not as confident. I'm not as confident with this one as I have been kind of previously, but I am still wavering between. I don't know whether this is a lack of confidence or not, but I am still wavering between a 3-0 or a 2-0. So I suppose I'm still kind of confident. I just don't think they're in the right form to kind of be able to deal with us, and I think that the run of us scoring 2 or more goals is set to continue. So I guess just to be different from the guys, I'll go for a 3-0 win. But yeah, it could easily be a 2-0 win. I feel confident we'll win. But yeah, I'm not sure of I'm not completely sure about the margins. But yeah, I'll just go with a 3-0, and I'll say that all 3 of the front 3 to score. So I think Mane, Jota, and Salah. Sorry, Mane, Salah and Origi.
What about you, Ian? What about you?
I think 3-1. I just don't see us giving this clean sheet to Goodison Park. It'll bounce in off Richarlison's arse or something. It'll just from a corner. It'll just end up in the back of the net. But I think we'll win. I think we'll win quite convincingly. I'm going to go 3-1, and I think 2 from Salah, and we'll go 1 from Trent.
I like that.
That would be amazing.
Ian, I can't believe you've just said that we're going to see the chicken celebration. Because if it goes in off of Richarlison's arse, you've got to look at that stupid celebration.
the pigeon.
Pigeon. If we're 3-0 up by then, though, he won't bother, will he? So,
it's appalling, isn't it? It's just
bad.
The worst thing. You want a 2-footed when you see that, don't you?
Yeah.
That'll be the best thing to happen was for Trent to score and for Trent to go and do the pigeon in front of him.
No, it's not. It's the
I'm
worst
keen on Trent scoring,
I've seen in all my life. It's the worst celebration I've ever seen, and there've been some bad ones around. I mean, didn't Aubameyang used to put a mask on or something when he scored?
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. Pull out a Batman mask or something. That was pretty crap as well, wasn't it? So, but that thing, I'm sure his thigh bone's connected to his neck or something, because that's an appalling celebration, that, isn't it?
Didn't Obafemi Martins break his leg once doing a celebration as well? So
that's
the worst.
He used to do the flips, didn't he? Yeah.
Remember Jurgen Klinsmann used to dive, didn't he? Right? Jurgen Klinsmann broke his arm playing in a charity match, diving, trying to win a penalty. That could only happen to him, couldn't it?
Whatever happens, no one is ever going to beat Luis Suarez's celebration diving in front of David Moyes.
That was the one. That was boss.
Bit of trivia, boys. Does anybody know why Luis Suarez always wears a thing? Because Keith Lemon wears it so he could remember to stay in character. I can't believe that Luis Suarez always wore a bandage around his wrist for the same reason. Why did he do it? Does anyone know?
Good question.
Idea, but I've wondered.
Did he used to kiss him?
He's got a tattoo of his kid's name on his wrist.
He used to kiss the same thing, didn't he, afterwards?
If he was playing in red, he'd wear a red bandage around.
It was through that thum bit as well, wasn't it? It was over the webbing. Yeah, I remember. I don't know why.
He still wears it, but I've got no idea. But I've always wondered.
He's got a spare pair of teeth in there, so if he bites someone too hard.
There we go.
Maybe it's his alter ego. Maybe it could be an alter ego, couldn't it? Because you can't be that nasty off the pitch, can you? Surely you'd be locked up, wouldn't you?
Maybe it just said, think about playing Norwich in it, because he was unbelievable against them all the time. Imagine it's Norwich, it said, just written on a bit of cotton.
There you go.
I think that's a perfect place to end the show, Dave. So what do you reckon?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
So I've really enjoyed myself today, guys. Thank you very much. If you've liked what you've watched,
before we go, guys, just tell us what you're up to and where we can find you. So, Ian, what are you up to this week, pal?
Apart from watching the derby and working, I'm going to be not much else. Probably sleeping because I work nights. I don't really have that much of an exciting life, Steve.
Chasing big sheets down the road in the wind, mate. I know you.
Yeah, that's Dan, the one. Yeah.
Dan, what are you up to this week, fella? What have you got on?
It's a good question there. Podcast will be out, Reds Unrestricted this week, as usual. Aside from that, usual working. That's your cricket this week as well for me. Play for Liverpool Cricket Club. Up the cherries.
Figuring out your coffee machine.
That's about coffee machine. I need to figure that out. I've already cut my thumb once. I need one of Luis Suarez's bands. I'd have been all right. But figure out that coffee machine.
Fast bowler. You're a fast bowler. You look quite tall for some reason, Dan. Are you a fast bowler?
You are right. Yeah, I'm 6'3", and opening bowler. That's right. Yeah, fast is a bit kind. I'll be brutally honest on myself. Medium pace dobblers, I'd describe it as.
Fair enough. What about you, Dean? What are you up to this week, pal? You've started on the spaces now, haven't you? So that's the beginning of the end, mate. You get on them things.
Karaoke, is it, Dean? Karaoke.
Yeah, no. I've not actually managed to get on one of the spaces, but I've started listening to them, and man, they're shit. They're really some of the football ones are really kind of terrible, but I can understand why people kind of, gravitate towards them. But yeah, I am actually working on something to do with spaces, so that's to come. But for this week, I'm starting a new job, so that's taking all of my focus for this week at least. And yeah, and just going to continue watching weird documentaries.
Good luck, Dean, by the way. Good luck on the new job.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Good luck,
Cool,
Dean.
well done, mate. Congratulations. So tomorrow night I'll be on Grounded Football as always. And then Thursday morning, I make my first appearance on Red Men TV, which will be really cool. I'm going over to the studio to go in there, mate. So really looking forward to that.
Awesome.
So that'd be cool. Bit different because it's like with cameras and stuff, isn't it? As opposed to
it's good news. It's brilliant. That it's happy days.
So
are they still in Speak?
Yeah, Hunts Cross.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll go well, and I'd like to do a bit more stuff like that. Hence the reason I kind of wanted this to go into a studio environment. But there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of different podcasts, and it's quite difficult to sort of get people to commit to it. So yeah, hopefully that'll go cool, really well. So
good.
We'll see. Do we want to do a show after the game on Wednesday, boys?
Well, I'll be at work, so I'll be down to you three.
Okay. Are you two up for it?
Certainly at some point, yeah. Whether immediately after or in the aftermath.
Sort of 15, 20 minutes afterwards, because what's going to happen is LFC Dave's chat is going to go on and do his instant reaction. Red Sea Podcast will go on and do their instant reaction. If you kind of leave it till Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, the moment.
Yeah. Certainly, yeah.
Sure. Cool. Right. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it in the group anyway. So for those that joined in, Jamie's just left us. So thanks for joining in. Those that came in the comments, gents, have a good evening, and let's hope tomorrow that game of two of our arch rivals ends in a draw. I can't bring myself to say I want Manchester United to win.
Oh, I think I can. They're nowhere near us.
No. You cannot say that, mate. You can't say that ever. You can think it, but you can't say it.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I'll give you that.
I have said it once or twice when they needed to, but then I've been immediately sick in my mouth.
Ian, what shirt are you wearing? Ian, what shirt's that, lad?
85, 86.
I was going to say, yeah.
Is it a repo or is it a real thing?
No, it's the real one. The letters are coming off it.
Oh, looks like we lost him. Right, I'm going to end the broadcast anyway, guys.
There
you go, back.